That title directly targets and judges women's past or sexual behavior, which can easily come across as sexist, invasive, or shaming, something that goes against both YouTube and community guidelines. If your goal is to make a motivational or self-awareness speech in Wizard Liz's confident, truth-telling tone, I can reframe it into something equally strong but respectful and empowering. Like when you look at a woman who seems distant, who doesn't open up easily, who looks like she has a whole world behind her eyes, you're not seeing someone cold, you're seeing someone who has been through too much. You're seeing a woman who has learned to protect herself because the world taught her that being soft was dangerous. You're seeing strength disguised as silence. You see, life has a way of changing you when you give too much of yourself to the wrong people. At first, she used to love deeply. She used to care without limits. She would answer every message, forgive every mistake, believe every promise. She thought people meant what they said. She believed that love could fix everything. But life showed her the other side, the side where people take advantage of kindness, where loyalty is mistaken for weakness, where love becomes a transaction instead of a feeling. So now she carries herself differently, not because she's heartless, but because she's learned that not everyone deserves access to her heart. She knows the difference between attention and affection, between interest and intention, and she no longer wastes her energy trying to convince people to stay. That's what happens when you've been hurt. You stop begging for love and you start choosing peace. Her emotional walls aren't made of arrogance, they're built from experience. Every layer was placed there by a broken promise, a betrayal, a disappointment. She doesn't trust words anymore, she watches actions. She doesn't chase anyone anymore, she observes who's willing to meet her halfway. She doesn't fall easily because she knows how hard it is to rise again. That's not trauma speaking, that's wisdom. And yes, sometimes she might come off as distant. She might seem like she doesn't care. But that's because she's finally learned to prioritize herself. She has realized that her energy is sacred, that giving it to the wrong person can drain her completely. She's learned to sit in silence rather than explain herself to people committed to misunderstanding her. That silence is power. That distance is protection. When she walks into a room, her presence feels different. It's calm but strong. She doesn't try to prove anything anymore. She doesn't need validation from anyone. That quiet confidence you sense, it's not attitude. It's the peace that comes when you no longer seek approval. She knows who she is now. She knows her worth. And she refuses to discount herself for anyone's comfort. The world often misjudges women like her. People say she's changed. They say she's cold. But what they don't understand is that she's not cold. She's healed. Healing doesn't make you the same. It changes your standards. It changes how you react. It changes what you tolerate. You stop trying to fix people who don't want to be fixed. You stop explaining your worth. You stop waiting for others to see your value. You see it yourself. She used to think being soft meant being weak. Now she knows softness is strength, but it must be protected. Not everyone deserves to witness her gentle side. Not everyone earns her trust. And that's okay. She's not bitter, she's selective. She knows that energy flows where attention goes, and she refuses to pour into anything that doesn't pour back. When you talk to her, you might notice she listens more than she speaks. That's because she's mastered the art of observation. She studies people, their patterns, their energy. She no longer gets attached to potential, she focuses on reality. She's done believing in what could, now she only invests in what is. And deep down, she still has love, she still has warmth, she still has that big heart, but she gives it carefully. Because now she understands that love is not about losing yourself to make someone else feel whole. It's about two people choosing to grow together, not drain each other. She's learned that real love doesn't ask her to shrink. It doesn't punish her for being strong. It doesn't make her beg. That's what makes her so powerful now. She's no longer controlled by her emotions. She controls them. She's no longer afraid of being alone. She enjoys her own company. She's no longer seeking validation. She validates herself. Her solitude is not loneliness, it's healing. Her silence is not emptiness, it's peace. So the next time you meet a woman like this, don't mistake her quietness for coldness. Don't assume she's detached or unfeeling. Understand that every boundary she sets, every pause before she speaks, every time she chooses to walk away instead of argue, it's all the result of everything she's learned the hard way. She's protecting her peace, not proving a point. She has learned to let go gracefully. She has learned that sometimes silence speaks louder than words. She has learned that not everyone deserves an explanation, that peace is more valuable than being understood, that the right people will never make her feel like she's too much. So, yes, she's changed, but that change isn't something to criticize, it's something to respect. Because it takes strength to rebuild yourself after being broken. It takes courage to love again when love has hurt you. It takes wisdom to remain kind in a world that tried to make you bitter. And that's the truth. She's not cold, she's careful. She's not emotionless, she's evolved. She's not distant, she's discerning. She's the kind of woman who's been through the fire and came out glowing, quiet, strong, and untouchable. Confidence is not something you're born with. It's something life teaches you painfully, beautifully, and slowly. When you've been through enough, when you've given your best to the wrong people, when you've spent nights wondering if you were ever enough, something inside you changes. You stop chasing validation. You stop seeking to be seen. You start realizing that no one's opinion defines you anymore. That's the kind of confidence that can't be faked. That's the kind of power that can't be bought. She's been through phases where she tried to impress, where she molded herself into what others wanted her to be. She dressed the way they liked, spoke softly so they wouldn't call her too much, and hid her opinions so they wouldn't say she's too strong. But one day she woke up exhausted, tired of performing, tired of being smaller just to fit into spaces that didn't deserve her presence. That's when everything changed. Now, her confidence doesn't come from compliments, it comes from clarity. She knows who she is, she knows what she brings to the table, and she doesn't need anyone to validate that. She doesn't pose for approval, she doesn't speak for attention, she doesn't move to be noticed, she moves because she has direction. When you've been through enough, you realize that peace feels better than attention, and purpose feels better than popularity. She's seen how fragile validation can be. One moment people love you, the next they forget you. So she stopped depending on their applause. She learned that when you build your confidence on others' opinions, it collapses the moment they stop clapping. Now her confidence comes from a place much deeper, from surviving everything that was meant to break her, from rebuilding herself with no one's help, from knowing she's still standing after everything. You can't fake that kind of strength. It's quiet, it's calm, it doesn't need to prove itself. She doesn't need to raise her voice to show power. She doesn't need to explain herself to be understood. Her presence speaks for her. You can feel it, the way she walks, the way she looks at you, the way she carries herself. It's not arrogance, it's self-assurance. It's the peace that comes when you finally stop needing to be chosen and you choose yourself. There was a time when she would overthink every word, every message, every silence. She used to wonder, did I do something wrong? Why did they change? Now she doesn't chase explanations. She doesn't beg for closure. She's realized that losing people is part of finding yourself. If they walked away, they weren't meant to stay. If they didn't see her worth, it's because they weren't ready for someone who truly knows their own value. She no longer compares herself to anyone. She's not trying to be better than the next person. She's trying to be better than who she was yesterday. Her focus has shifted. She used to want to be liked. Now she just wants to be aligned with her peace, her purpose, her growth. That's real confidence. It's not loud. It doesn't scream, look at me. It whispers, I'm good either way. When people see a woman like this, they call her intimidating. But the truth is, she's not intimidating. They're just not used to someone who doesn't need their validation to feel valuable. She's not cold. She's selective. She doesn't settle for half-hearted energy anymore. She's learned that the moment you start depending on others for your self-worth, you hand them the power to destroy it. She took that power back. Her confidence didn't come from easy days, it came from nights when she cried herself to sleep and still showed up the next morning. It came from moments when she had no one cheering for her but still kept going. It came from heartbreaks that shattered her and from the courage it took to love herself again afterward. That kind of confidence isn't loud, it's sacred, it's something you build in silence. Now, when people compliment her, she smiles, but she doesn't depend on it. When people doubt her, she doesn't argue, she lets time prove them wrong. When people leave, she doesn't crumble, she blesses them and moves forward because she knows what she deserves. She knows her worth isn't negotiable. And when a woman reaches that point, she becomes unstoppable. She has learned to pour into herself. She reads, she heals, she grows, she doesn't chase, she attracts, because when you truly know yourself, your energy becomes magnetic. You stop needing to convince anyone of your value. It becomes obvious. The world notices, but she doesn't care for the attention. She's too focused on evolving. She's not the girl who seeks validation anymore. She's the woman who creates it from within. Every scar on her heart reminds her that she survived. Every failure reminds her that she learned. Every ending reminds her that she can start again. That's where her confidence lives, in her journey, not her image. So when you see her calm, composed, and unbothered, know that it took years to get there. Know that behind that peace is a story of chaos. She conquered. Behind that glow is a woman who cried, healed, and grew. Behind that silence is someone who finally realized her worth was never lost. It was only hidden beneath other people's opinions. Now, she walks with a kind of grace that comes from knowing she needs no one's permission to shine. She's free, free from seeking, free from proving, free from pleasing. And that freedom is what makes her so powerful. Because when a woman learns to validate herself, nothing, and no one can ever take that away from her again.